In my previous life, I spent a lifetime with Sophia without ever truly experiencing real affection. On her deathbed, she held my hand gently and said, "Daniel, in the end, you stayed by my side." I guess that's not too bad. She didn't seem to regret choosing me over the person she once had a crush on, and she seemed satisfied that I had handled all the daily responsibilities over the years. But I could hear the quiet resignation in her voice. I had been someone's second choice, and I didn't want to live like that again, but fate gave me another chance. It let me go back to the year I was 20. I asked myself, would I be willing to live that same life again? Of course not. This time, I wanted to stay far away from Sophia. I wanted to do something that truly mattered. I had been married to Sophia for 50 years, and on the day she passed, a faint smile still lingered on her lips. But I just stood there silently, staring out the window, thinking, if there's an afterlife, I will never marry Sophia again. Then, I opened my eyes and in front of me was a row of tall, lush white poplar trees on a college campus. Still dazed, I felt a chalk-covered ruler tap my shoulder. "Daniel, repeat the force analysis I just talked about," said the physics teacher at the podium, frowning, clearly irritated. I stood up, confused, only to see him glaring at me. A voice from the back row called out, teasingly, "Teacher, he's not in our class, he's just here to accompany his girlfriend." The teacher's expression darkened, and he turned back toward the blackboard. Right then, the girl sitting beside me, Sophia, spoke up coldly, "I don't know him." The classroom fell into an awkward silence. My heart skipped a beat. Sophia looked young, vibrant, but already had that same cold and distant demeanor. Even back then, she had this proud, unapproachable aura. She was a high flower, stunning and impossible not to notice, and now, just like before, she was being colder than ever, clearly trying to humiliate me. I smiled bitterly. She hadn't changed at all. "Yes, teacher," I said calmly. "I'm not in this class, and I don't know her either. Sorry for the disturbance. I'll leave now." Sophia didn't say a word, but she didn't move either. She just sat there by the aisle, blocking my way. After class, the teacher called me into his office. Before he said anything, he gave my head a light knock. "Silly boy, it's obvious she's not into you. Can't you see that?" I nodded. "I get it, uncle. I won't come to your class anymore." He gave me a suspicious look, then waved me off and went back to his desk. As soon as I stepped out of the office, I heard someone running after me. A hand clapped onto my shoulder. "Daniel, the cafeteria's got a new soda, orange flavor. Want one?" I shook my head. Victor added quickly, "Then let's go to my dorm. I got a new radio, Shanghai Red Lantern model. The sound's amazing. I'll play Teresa Teng's songs for you." He started humming, "Let life float with the wind, let ideals forever shine." I smoothed out the wrinkles on my shirt. "I'm preparing for an internship at the Northern Research Institute. Got a lot to do, so I won't be hanging out anymore." Victor's smile faded as he grabbed my arm. "Huh? That sudden? Who am I supposed to hang out with now?" I looked at him and said, "You and Sophia can hang out. I don't need to be the third wheel. It's fine." He slowly let go. When I turned around, I saw Sophia leaning against the wall, fiddling with her notebook. She looked up at me suddenly. "Don't worry about him. Let him go wherever he wants." Then she grabbed Victor's hand. So many things to deal with, she didn't even look at me. But her words, they felt like knives. 50 years had gone by. But that scene, it still hurt. Back then, I would force myself to adapt to the pain until I couldn't even feel it anymore. "Don't you want to know when I'm leaving?" I asked. Sophia scoffed, but Victor cut in. "Daniel, when exactly are you leaving? Why so suddenly?" I adjusted my glasses and looked at the row of white poplar trees outside the experimental building. "When all these leaves turn yellow, it won't be long." After that day, I stopped going to classes. The decision to join the research institute had been sudden, but prepping for it was exhausting. One afternoon, while flipping through brochures, my uncle knocked on my bedroom door. "My student's here," he said, scratching his head. She said she needed help with a question, but after dropping off her stuff, she just won't leave. "Maybe you should take a look." I gave a half smile. "Just leave the door open, uncle. You go prep your lessons." Autumn in the north came early, and the air had already turned chilly. But I still hadn't heard any familiar footsteps. When I finally looked up from the stack of papers, the sky had already darkened. I stepped into the living room empty. Sophia had vanished. The fading sunlight spilled through the old windows, casting long shadows across the floor. The silence felt surreal. For the next few days, I buried myself in research. I had grown up with my uncle. After my parents left me some money, they drifted away and never looked back. In my last life, I never saw them again before I died, but that mutual distance had also given me freedom. When I told my uncle about the institute I chose, he nodded. That place is top tier, especially in domestic navigation systems. Then he added, almost casually, Sophia's been asking where you're going. It's rare for her to show interest in someone. Maybe you should talk to her. I let out a cold laugh. Uncle, aren't you the one who hated me being clueless and always interfering between Sophia and Victor? You were even embarrassed to admit I was your nephew in the department. He sighed deeply. I'm just worried you'll act on emotion. Think carefully. Don't regret it later. Don't worry, Uncle, I said. The next day, I returned to the department. To my surprise, news of my internship had already spread. As I sorted through my materials, my roommate sneered, Hey Daniel, aren't you an orphan? How can you afford to go to a top research institute? My dad said only extraordinary people get in there. How could you? I picked up a mechanic's notebook, flipped through it, and then tossed it in the trash. He moved to grab it, then froze. Didn't Victor tell you? I asked. I'm not leaving anything behind for you. Didn't he promise you benefits? The guy panicked. No, it's not about Victor. He didn't say anything. I continued packing calmly. Really? Then you're just looking for trouble. As I stepped out of the dorm, I turned and pointed at him. I've always suspected there's a thief here. Things keep disappearing mysteriously. I wonder who'll steal my notebook this time. His face went pale. He rushed back in and punched the wall in frustration. I walked away in long strides. The sky above was surprisingly clear. A good day. The summer heat was finally fading, and the northern chill was creeping in. But something else came faster than the cold. Someone unexpected. Just as I reached the school gate, someone snatched my canvas bag. Going to the Beijing Research Institute. Aren't you majoring in navigation technology? So you're not planning to do the same job as your parents anymore? I froze. Sophia. Somehow she had found out everything. Things I hadn't even told her yet. I said calmly, I think my parents are too far away. Maybe I'll meet them even if I'm not working in the same field. Who knows, one day the navigation system they use for their missions might be something I helped develop. Isn't that another kind of reunion? Sophia let go of the bag. It fell to the ground, and everything inside scattered. This kind of bag really was inconvenient. I crouched down to pick things up. Sophia irritably kicked a notebook that had landed near her foot. Is this junk really worth you coming all the way back for? Not even worth saying goodbye to me? I looked her in the eyes. With what identity should I say goodbye to you, Sophia? Sophia looked confused. In my previous life, we didn't get together until 5 years later. By then, we had already started working. Victor went south, got involved with the daughter of a military industry CEO, and married her quickly. About a month later, Sophia came to find me and asked if I wanted to get married. We hadn't seen each other in 3 years, but I didn't hesitate. I agreed. When we were young, we always thought time could heal everything. As long as I could be with Sophia, everything else could wait, even making her truly fall in love with me. But 50 years passed, and I still hadn't achieved that. Ironically, just a few days after I came back, I stopped caring about Sophia. And in return, I saw the very care I'd longed for in my past life. But I saw through it. Sophia didn't have me in her heart. At least, not now. She just wasn't used to my absence. I didn't wait for her to speak. Sophia, besides you, who knows that my parents are researchers? Everyone else thought I was an orphan. Victor, who was walking toward us, included. Sophia frowned. I never told anyone. You never liked talking about your family. That was true. Among the three of us, only Victor thought I had no parents. Sophia bit her lower lip. What exactly are you trying to say? Victor hasn't said anything about you. You should trust him. To outsiders, Victor and I looked like the closest friends. Logically, he'd be the one to keep my secrets. I didn't respond. I just watched as Victor, dressed in dark blue work pants, pushed his bicycle toward us. I stepped back, bent down, gathered the scattered materials into the canvas bag, and tossed it casually by the stairs. Then, without saying another word, I walked out of the campus. News of my internship spread quickly. Some people were envious. Some made sarcastic comments. Some even joked, even if you make it big, don't forget your old classmates. A few wanted to throw me a farewell party. In the old auditorium, Sophia sat alone on a bench in the corner, as quiet as ever. The ceiling fan whirred above. When I pushed open the door, my classmates cheered. Welcome, the first student from our department to enter a top research institute. Daniel, come up and perform for us. I heard that institutes got super high standards. How about giving us a professional presentation? I looked around at the familiar faces. Most were girls Victor usually hung out with, along with their roommates. I walked onto the stage, grabbed the mic, then I'll sing Carefree Walk. Before anyone could react, I started the accompaniment. As I sang, maybe you've never wanted to tell me, and I don't want to ask you why. Sophia shifted in her seat. Her long hair hung in front of her face, hiding her expression. Just before that line was, "So I will forget your memories," she didn't move. This entanglement between the three of us, it needed to end. When the song finished, the applause was scattered. I walked to the desk, picked up a bottle of soda, and took a big gulp. The auditorium grew lively again. Classmates rushed on stage, and off-key singing filled the air, making everyone laugh. Sophia suddenly spoke. Daniel, you said that for love, one should be brave, right? I looked at her directly. Yes, both love and indifference. Her gaze fell on Victor, who was laughing with a group of girls. So it's fine for him to have so many girlfriends, right? He just changes girlfriends often, but he hasn't done anything wrong. I've always thought he's just an outgoing person. Sophia turned back to me. So I don't believe he leaked your secret, even about this gathering today. Even if it's related to him, I don't think he did it on purpose. Daniel, I never thought you'd be so paranoid. You've really disappointed me. I shook the half bottle of soda in my hand. So what? What? Sophia, you've always known I liked you, haven't you? She quickly turned her face away, avoiding my eyes. I went on. To you, the one who makes the first move is the humble one. The outgoing person is just being themselves, while the one who isn't likable gets blamed for everything. I've never thought that way, she said, reaching for the soda on the table. But a pack of cigarettes beside it fell to the ground. She instinctively glanced at Victor, who was still chatting and laughing, then awkwardly picked it up. I laughed. Sophia, you're actually quite hypocritical. Your feelings are like sludge in a stinking drain, unable to see the light. And yet, they're infamous. Everyone holds their nose in disgust. Her face turned pale. She grabbed a cigarette, lit it clumsily, and took a deep drag like she was doing it out of spite. That kind of loss of composure was rare for her, but I found it revolting. I stood up. Love can stay in your heart, but you shouldn't sacrifice others to fulfill yourself. Sophia, I won't give you another chance to use me. From now on, it's better if we stay strangers. Sophia always believed Victor wouldn't spread rumors about me. She was convinced that the farewell party, despite reeking of his involvement, wasn't some calculated scheme. To her, I was just making a fuss, deliberately picking on him, but none of that mattered anymore. I came today just to say to my past self, it wasn't worth it. After the party, I locked myself in the lab, focused on studying the principles behind navigation systems. As finals approached, Victor came looking for me just as I expected. He was as casual as ever, throwing his arm over my shoulder like nothing happened. He pulled a stack of yellowing technical documents from his bag and laid them in front of me. Here, this is good stuff. Had someone get me some internal materials, the latest. I flipped through a few pages, reading seriously. He saw this and slowly stopped smiling. I thought you were mad at me. Looks like I overthought it. I closed the file. What are you talking about? Victor paused. Nothing. As long as you're not mad, let's just forget the past. By the way, Daniel, why the sudden decision to go to Beijing? I didn't bring up your family before because I thought it'd upset you. Turns out I misunderstood. Your family's doing well. Your parents are fine. You really hit it well. You call yourself my brother? I thought we were close friends. Close friends, huh? Sophia and I had known each other since childhood. Her parents were both teachers, just like my uncle. He wasn't just her teacher, but a respected elder in her life. Naturally, Sophia and I became close, but her nature was always cold. Even after more than 10 years, I was still closer to Victor, who'd known her for only a year. I said, because I focused on my studies, and with you always portraying yourself as the poor kid, people believed you weren't some spoiled rich brat. Victor, I admit I hung out with you for my own reasons. I knew Sophia liked you, but she couldn't bring herself to admit it. With me around, she didn't have to face the rumors. Sophia wasn't willing to admit she had feelings for someone with a bad reputation. When the three of us were together, she could pretend I was the one she liked, not Victor. We all had things we couldn't say. None of us broke the silence. Now, it was better that it all ended here. Daniel, are you fucking crazy? Victor snapped. You're saying Sophia can't admit she likes me? He laughed coldly. Ha! You really think too highly of yourself. You're just a bookworm burying yourself in research. You've been following us around. No wonder everyone calls you useless. You think tagging along with me makes you look normal? Let me tell you, if I weren't covering for you, people would already be calling you a freak. I'm doing you a favor by hanging out with you. You think you actually mean something? He grabbed the stack of documents I had brought and yanked them from my hands. Someone like you, all poor and shabby, wants to go to a top research institute? You're a joke. An orphan? Who even knows what shady backdoor deal you used to get where you are? People are talking now, you know, saying you're some sugar baby to certain female leaders. And you know what? Even you believe it. Only then did I realize Sophia hadn't told him anything about my family. That was just like her. For all her flaws, she stuck to her principles. With that cold, beautiful face of hers, she was bound to be the object of some lost boy's dreams during his youth. I let out a bitter laugh. It was time to end this mess. Grudges, misunderstandings, all of it. Now that everything's been said, let's just go our separate ways. Victor, I suggest you take care of yourself. Don't do anything stupid. I know all about your dirty little secrets. Victor clearly didn't take my words to heart. The day the institute assignment was released, I headed to the department office to collect the materials. But I was stopped. They told me to call my parents. The school had access to all student records. They'd see that both of mine were alive, key researchers in fact. The department head, peering at me over his thick glasses, looked serious. Daniel, you've always been a diligent, responsible student. You've never caused trouble for the department. But lately, all these rumors have been spreading. And your silence, well, it puts us in a difficult position. To get into such a prestigious research institute, your family background matters. But with how things are now, it's going to be hard to write you a strong recommendation. It was absurd, but things had blown up beyond control. I had no choice but to clear things up myself. The rumors on campus were out of hand. They said I had no chance of getting into a research institute, that I was using connections pulling strings, that I was a poor student trying to escape hardship by selling myself for favors, and disturbingly, people found that explanation believable. Everywhere I walked, I could hear the whispers. They said people like me, if left unchecked, would set a bad example, make others lazy, and corrupt the hardworking. And somehow, despite it being the modern era, announcements were still made over loudspeakers, and Victor had managed to spread the rumors everywhere. Even the notebook I gave my roommate, an expensive one, became evidence. People started saying it was a gift from Victor, claiming I had taken it greedily and passed it off as my own. They accused me of being shameless, but those rumors were easy to kill. I simply pulled out my bank statement. It showed I'd had over $1 million in savings since birth. Even in the 1980s, that was a number worthy of respect. With just that one piece of evidence, the rumors vanished like smoke. I didn't bother clearing up the rest. After all, this was a top polytechnic university, not the kind of place where baseless gossip could survive long once truth surfaced. Eventually, I got all the materials I needed for the research institute. Once my assignment came in, I could report. Autumn was arriving. The department was about to go on break. I thought the whole ordeal had finally ended, but then out of nowhere Victor, with swollen red eyes, punched me the moment I opened the door. I looked past him. The person standing behind was her. This is my uncle's house. You're bringing people here to make a scene? Sophia frowned. I didn't know he would get violent, she said defensively. Can you stop thinking so badly of me all the time? Daniel, you've changed ever since that class. You're always so suspicious of everyone now. Was it because you were too quiet before, and we just didn't notice this side of you? Or maybe I misjudged you from the start? Scoundrel, I was just about to call the police, but then I realized there were no cameras here. No one would stand up for me. So instead, I raised my hand and slapped her. Yes, it was Sophia I hit. Sophia, not only are you deaf, you're blind too. Why are you acting like a lunatic for no reason? You're not welcome here. Get out. Sophia, stunned, covered her face. You hit me? She said in disbelief. What's wrong with you? Is it because I didn't publicly acknowledge you as my boyfriend? Are you still bitter about that? But we weren't even in that kind of relationship. What's wrong with me denying it? We were so lost in our fight, we forgot Victor was still there. Suddenly, he barged between us. Sophia, have you forgotten why we're here today? He barked. Sophia's face turned cold. Daniel, apologize. Apologize to Victor. I let out a sneer. Apologize? What a joke. Victor began his little act. Daniel, I always thought of you as my best brother. Why? Would you say I was the one spreading those rumors? I honestly believed your parents were dead. I wasn't the only one. What right do you have to say I schemed behind your back? I turned to Sophia. Did you ask him? Yes, she replied coldly. What's the problem? I just wanted to know the truth. No problem at all. I looked at Victor. Spoke slowly. Actually, you were the only one. If others thought that way, it was because of you. Remember when you said you never heard me talk about my family? You thought it was a painful topic. I just smiled and said nothing. And you took that as confirmation. The very next day, our dorm mates were going through my drawers looking for pictures of my parents. What's that prove? Maybe others thought the same thing. Victor snapped. I continued, calm and direct. I once lent a Casio calculator to a classmate. Later, he told me you'd mentioned in the cafeteria that you were concerned about my family background, afraid I might have psychological issues. That same night, the research team held a meeting to pressure me about it. Victor, do you remember how little time had passed since freshmen arrived? Sophia suddenly slammed her fist on the table. So you knew what Victor was doing behind my back all along and still stayed friends with him for an entire year. Her voice trembled with anger. Heh, so it was all fake. You never saw him as a friend. And you didn't care about me. After all these years, I thought you had feelings for me. Was it all just an act? I leaned back against the doorframe, coldly staring at her. How did I treat you, Sophia? Don't you know I've liked you all these years? Yet you used my feelings to get close to Victor. And now you think you can accuse me? Sophia went silent, turning away. Her long hair covered her pale face. Then don't go to the research institute, she whispered. If you don't go to the research institute, I can. I cut her off. What are you even saying? Who are you to control what I do? Sophia, do you like me? Victor's voice suddenly interrupted, drowning mine out. In that moment, he seemed stripped of all his usual confidence. He had everything but still wanted every girl to love him. I slammed the door shut. I couldn't bear to see the hesitation in Sophia's eyes. The assignment hadn't come in yet, but I was already on the train to Beijing. Little did I know that our next meeting wouldn't be until the 1990 National Science and Technology Exhibition. While adjusting equipment at the main booth, I spotted her, Sophia, walking with Victor. It shouldn't have mattered, but I couldn't look away because there was a slight bulge in her abdomen. Sophia met my eyes, her expression calm. She had no intention of explaining anything. The hall was crowded. I didn't have time to think, but then someone dragged me into the equipment room. In the darkness, I could hear the sound of someone breathing, and then she rested her head on my shoulder. Daniel. Her voice trembled. Sophia was clearly holding back her emotions, not wanting anyone to see she had been crying, but she didn't realize her tears had already soaked through my lab coat. I gently pushed her away. I have work to do, but she clutched my sleeve, refusing to let go. Why did you lie to me? What? The 762 Institute doesn't even have you. I understood now. I applied to 3 institutes. The conditions at 762 were too poor, so I chose a different one. Then, why didn't you tell me? Why haven't you called me? Not even once in all these years? Daniel, is your heart made of stone? Sophia tried to grab my hand, but I shook it off. Didn't we make ourselves clear? I said coldly. Don't make me feel disgusted. She froze. You never gave me a chance to explain, she said quietly. I was going to say if you stay, I'll admit in front of everyone that you're my boyfriend. I won't be with Victor. You can always be by my side. You'll always have that title, my boyfriend. So that's all it was. In our past life, those 50 years, it was nothing but her charity, letting me hang on to the identity of her husband, not because she loved me, but just enough so I wouldn't be mocked by others. And no wonder she always treated me with such coldness. I looked her in the eyes and said, let me make this clear, Sophia. I don't love you anymore. I used to see only you, but now I realize the world without you is much bigger. Compared to that, you're really quite insignificant. Sorry, I have to work. She opened her mouth, as if wanting to say more, But I didn't give her the chance. Why don't you ask me what my relationship with Victor is? Why don't you ask whose child this is? Or how I even found out where you were? She stared at me, silent. Daniel, I came to Beijing for you. I walked out the door without turning back. At the corner, I clipped my work pass to my shirt and left everything else behind. Soon, I got all the answers to those questions from Victor himself. He came uninvited. The moment he stepped in, he said, "The day you locked me and Sophia outside the door, I asked her something. Did Daniel say you didn't dare to admit you liked me?" I asked, "Is it true?" And I told her, "If you admit it, I'll break up with my girlfriend immediately. I'll be with you, only you from now on." That day, she kissed me first. From that moment on, they became very public. So public, in fact, that they were planning a celebration, something big to announce their relationship to the entire department, but by then, no one could find me. I was already on a train heading to Beijing. Victor now sipped tea calmly, pausing every now and then. "Daniel, you're really good at pretending," he said with a crooked smile. "You left without saying anything, not even a goodbye. All these years, you've watched me put on performances flaunting my half-baked skills in front of you. I bet you've been laughing at me the whole time, haven't you?" I watched him enjoy his tea and still reminded him, "You're drinking too much hot tea. It's not good for your stomach." His expression shifted. He slammed the cup on the table. "Stop pretending you're the good guy. Don't act like you're above everyone else. If I were like you, born into a family of scientists, surrounded by the best tech from childhood, never worrying about food or money, I'd be where you are too. You know how hard I had to fight for everything I showed off. People like you look down on people like me. If you'd started from the bottom, you wouldn't be any better than I am." I gently set my cup down and looked straight at him. "Are you done?" I wasn't here to listen to him rant. Victor paused, then said, "You used to like hearing me talk like this. That's because back then you were pathetic," I replied. "Desperate to win Sophia over. You'd do anything for her, even suffer with me." He smirked, trying to regain control. "Do you want to know whose child is in her belly? It's mine." The night I left for Beijing, I wasn't at the auditorium. Victor was there. He saw Sophia leave alone. After that, she drank often. Alone, getting drunker by the day. One night, completely wasted, she ran into Victor. In her drunken haze, she mistook him for me. Later, when she realized she was pregnant, she went to him. She told him what happened that night was a mistake, but he had responsibility too. Victor laughed in her face. "Didn't you say you only wanted to be with Daniel?" He mocked. "What are you pretending to be so pure for now? Sophia, you've been with so many people over the years, but none of them ever caught your eye. That night, you got drunk, mistook me for him. You were calling out his name. You want me to send those recordings to him?" Her face turned pale. "Enough," she said. Still, she kept the child. Victor leaned back, eyes locked on mine. "Want to know what happened to that child in the end? And why the one in her belly now is mine again?" Honestly, I didn't care. I checked my watch, pretending I had a meeting. Back then, pagers weren't even common yet. He stared at my digital watch with open envy. I smiled. "Sorry, I really need to go." He didn't give up. Later, he had someone deliver a letter to me. It was from him. "Daniel, I still want to clear some things up. At first, Sophia agreed to let me take responsibility. But then she told me to go to the hospital with her for an abortion. You're a man. Maybe you don't get it. But in our circle, if something like that gets out, it's serious. I'm already gossiped about enough. If she had the abortion, I can't even imagine how twisted the stories would get." I begged her not to go. But just like you, she disappeared without a word. She went south to find her father. That man abandoned her mother, started a new family, and became the head of a research institute there. She went to beg him for a job transfer, but he denied her completely. Still, she didn't care about the shame and went anyway. And the funniest part, you never even applied to the 762 Institute. She lost face for nothing, and it was her own doing. She had the abortion alone. Afterward, I went to confront her, but before I could speak, she pinned me down on the bed in the guest house. That's what happened. Does it disgust you? If it does, then don't bother her anymore. You're rising now, don't get involved. Otherwise, I can do anything. Sincerely, Victor. The handwriting was rushed, messy, full of errors. Some parts contradicted others. He must have written it in secret at work. I couldn't help but laugh at the sincerely at the end. Sophia sat across from me, clearly uneasy. Things not going too well with Victor? I asked. No wonder. Two fresh graduates. One had a reputation for getting people pregnant. The other always so aloof, now pregnant before marriage. In such a conservative time. The rumors must have been brutal. No wonder they both got transferred. Victor probably clung to her because of her background, hoping she could open doors to bigger projects, better positions. But Sophia wasn't his only option. His girlfriends, his godmother, they all had connections. 2.soy her. Sophia broke the silence. We really couldn't stay there anymore, she said. Victor wouldn't let me get an abortion and kept shouting that the baby was his. At that time, I let him spread word about our relationship. And when I finally denied it, no one believed me anymore. So I transferred out. I didn't expect to run into you here. She paused, then asked, do you know what price I paid to transfer to Beijing? When I didn't respond, she gave a bitter laugh. I hated it so much. I just wanted to vent. That's when Victor came to find me. I've never regretted anything more than that impulsive day. But now, I'm pregnant again. And it's his. He's threatened me not to get rid of it. I don't dare risk it. I have no choice but to live with this mistake. In just a few days, I'd heard enough of their chaos. I said, I guess this is fate. So, why are you looking for me now, Sophia? She was quiet for a long time. Then her eyes turned strangely serious. Do you believe I've been reborn? My hand stopped midway through writing the experiment log. The pen bled into a smear of ink. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Sophia spoke softly, almost to herself. You should believe me. Maybe you've been reborn too. Otherwise, how do you explain how suddenly your attitude toward me changed so completely? 50 years. Was that enough to burn out all your patience for one person? After being reborn, you just wanted to live differently. She thought I was avoiding past mistakes because I had already gotten what I wanted once and now I didn't treasure it anymore. I said, maybe it's because I've lived through it and realized it wasn't worth it. Or maybe, over these past 50 years, I've regretted not choosing my own life more than once. All that regret, it piled up over time until finally, it gave me one more chance to choose again. Sophia suddenly looked up, her body trembling just a little. So that's how it is, she said softly. Then have you ever thought, maybe I was also reborn for a reason? Maybe I've been regretting it too, regretting not realizing sooner that you were the one I should have cherished the most. Honestly, hearing her say that did stir something inside me. But so what? What mattered to me now wasn't about making Sophia fall for me again. Besides, the timing of her so-called rebirth didn't make sense. At the moment she supposedly came back to life, I should have already disappeared from hers. She insisted on tying her rebirth to me, but it just didn't add up. I really thought that would be the end of us, our last entanglement. But by the time the new millennium rolled around, I was already a key figure at the research institute. And Sophia and Victor's child? She was already 4 years old. Our paths crossed again because of something unexpected. At a technical exchange conference, Victor suddenly trashed some equipment and had to be escorted out by security. He kept yelling that he knew me, demanding to confront me face to face. The security team didn't know what to do, so they had him wait in the meeting room until I finished, but once my meeting ended, I didn't go see him. Instead, I went straight to Sophia. She had just passed her assessment and officially joined the institute as a researcher. She was quietly sitting in the audience, taking notes. She didn't expect me to notice her. When she saw me, she looked a bit uneasy. Long time no see, Daniel, she greeted. I nodded. Your outfit today, not exactly appropriate. Weren't you prepared? She hesitated, then awkwardly adjusted her collar. I was in a rush. Didn't have time, I replied indifferently. Victor's causing a scene in the meeting room. Says he wants to see me, but I'm not interested. Can you go take care of it? Sophia stood frozen. I'm telling the truth, Victor and I have already separated. We don't have any contact except about the child, I nodded. Then can you go get him? Under her breath, Sophia muttered, unbelievable. Then she looked at me and said aloud, as expected, this is exactly who you are. In the past life, you thought you loved me, so you stayed by my side for a lifetime. In this life, you've decided it wasn't worth it, so you don't even want to maintain a connection. You probably don't realize it, but this resolute side of you, it makes me even more drawn to you. I'll go handle Victor, but from now on this is between you and me. Daniel, I'm going to seriously pursue you. This time, I'll do it properly. I closed my eyes, completely helpless. The only thing bouncing around in my head was, "This is insane," but Sophia meant every word she said. Victor no longer had the right to step foot inside the research institute. All those years he'd been sneaking in with temporary IDs. Sophia reported it. Security stopped issuing him passes. It was cold-blooded, but so very. Sophia, she had never acknowledged Victor publicly. She claimed she was still on probation and didn't want to repeat her past mistakes. Victor was terrified. A man with a kid, no job stability, he didn't dare let people know about the affair. So, the child stayed with him, outside the institute, unable to come in anymore. Victor had nowhere to turn. All he could do was call me every day, cursing me out. "It's all your fault. You ruined me. Why'd you have to appear in my life? If I hadn't seen you with such a bright future, I wouldn't have started hating my own life. I wouldn't have tried to change, wouldn't have tried to climb higher. I wouldn't have burned bridges with people who could have helped me. If I hadn't cut those TIs, I'd still be young. I could have leaned on old connections, got perks, lived easy. But now I'm stuck with this kid, and Sophia doesn't even care about me anymore. I can't find a way out. I'm useless now. Who's going to help me? This is all your fault. You made me see there's another way to live. Daniel, don't you dare come back here again. If you do, I swear I'll drag you down with me." Victor had grown up with his elderly grandmother. His parents suffered through endless hardship, and eventually they couldn't take the poverty anymore. They left him. Poverty followed him all his life. He was the one who truly lived through misery. Even before college, he was already out there, running wild, trying to find a way out. The child he pressured Sophia into keeping wasn't even his first. He made her keep that one because deep down, he knew he might never get another chance. Back when I was being destroyed by rumors, I thought about exposing everything, get my revenge. But in the end, I couldn't do it. If I stooped to that level, I'd be just like him. Eventually, the truth came out. Everyone saw things for what they really were, but now that things had reached this point, if Victor wasn't willing to back down, neither was I. This was a different era. News travels fast. Reputations can be ruined overnight. I stared him down. You think people don't know about your connections outside? That's the real reason you couldn't walk away, right? Victor instantly understood. He clenched his teeth. "Fine," he said. "If you don't come back, I won't make trouble. But you better not open your mouth about me either." We shook hands. A silent truce, but not long after, Victor got himself into real trouble. He went to visit a female superior. In the middle of the night, he was walking around her house in just his underwear when her husband came home early. There was a fight. Victor got thrown out. The woman ran after him, trying to stop him from leaving, and during their struggle, she slipped, hit her head on a cement slab in the yard, and died instantly. Victor was arrested. Even then, he was still screaming, "Why aren't you protecting me this time? You brought me here, and now when your husband shows up, you pretend I don't exist? What kind of person are you?" Eventually, he completely lost it. He was transferred to a psychiatric hospital, and not long after, he jumped off the roof of the ward. When the news of Victor's death reached me, Sophia was waiting just outside the cafeteria. She wanted to have lunch together. As I walked out, she had just set her pager down. I asked, "Aren't you going to check that?" She reached to take the documents I was holding, but I pulled them away. She gave an awkward smile and said, "I haven't had anything to do with him for a long time. Why would I go back?" "Then what about your daughter?" I asked. "You're not going to check on her either?" She's never called me mom. That's because you never acknowledged her." "Sophia, I really don't get it. People like us ordinary folks, why do we care so much about appearances? About what other people think? For the sake of face, you'd even abandon your own child." She struggled to hold herself together. "But how do I explain suddenly having someone else's daughter?" She whispered, "I didn't want to get involved. To me, that little girl was still a stranger. But growing up without love is brutal. No child deserves that." I couldn't help but say, "Sophia, why do you always feel the need to explain yourself? There aren't that many spectators in life. No one's watching your every move. No one needs to know all the details. Why do you care so much about what others think? Can't you just live for yourself?" She stood frozen at the cafeteria door, utterly defeated. She didn't say anything for a long while. Then finally, quietly, she said, "But that's not what the world taught me. Everything I've been through has taught me one thing. The only way to get what you truly deserve in this world is by earning it, by pleasing the world itself. So tell me, what exactly do you think you deserve? Your father's connections? His status? Yes, it was wrong of him to abandon you and your mother, but the success he has now, that wasn't handed to him. He worked hard for it. If he had stayed with you back then, he might still be just another ordinary researcher. So why should what he's earned now automatically belong to you?" I had said enough. It was clear she wasn't really listening anymore. So I stopped trying to reason with her. I turned back to what needed to be done, preparing the paperwork for my transfer. No one around me knew why I was making such a sudden move. They wouldn't understand. The truth was, I hadn't known the full story myself, not until the end of my last life. It turned out that my parents had died serving the country when I was born. They were killed in a mission, and their bodies were never recovered. They had sacrificed everything. So I had to carry on their legacy. I wanted to make this country stronger, to build a future where no one would have to make sacrifices like they did. Everything I had done, all of it was for that purpose. To make the transfer go smoothly, I asked my uncle for help with Sophia's daughter. He was supposed to assist with the adoption process. Sophia had to stay behind. I submitted a formal application, and just like that, she was left behind. She didn't have a choice. She couldn't prove her relationship to the child. Without any valid documentation, she couldn't get leave either. Then something unexpected happened. When the institution learned I was being transferred to take on a critical national project, they called Sophia back to take over my responsibilities. I never imagined she'd end up arrested for espionage. She had tried multiple times to get classified information from me, but when it didn't work, she accepted another assignment. That's when I caught her red-handed stealing confidential data. I didn't hesitate. I reported her immediately, but before she confessed, she made one last request. She insisted on seeing me. "Daniel," she said quietly, "your obsession with reincarnation, it wasn't really about me, was it?" I looked at her. "Love, whether it's small or grand, should always be sincere," I said. "I love my parents. I love this country. But you, that love is long gone." Her shoulders trembled. She was breaking. "I thought," she said, "if I achieved something big in the future, maybe I'd earn my father's recognition. Maybe I'd finally get access to all his resources. But now it's over." She paused, then shook her head. "No, you're right. There's no such thing as what should have been. There's no such thing as how it should have been." I agreed. Even if reincarnation is possible, if I got another chance, I'd still lose everything. I'd still end up with nothing but regret. She gave me a faint smile, the kind you give when you've stopped hoping. "There shouldn't be any expectations in life," she whispered. "You can't live thinking a second chance will save you. Every moment," I told her, "should be treated like it's the only one." She didn't respond. She just stood there, silent, until they came to take her away. I watched as she was led off, my heart a tangle of emotions. I wasn't angry, just heavy. But one thing was certain, at least in this life, I had no regrets.